All right, good afternoon. The second round of presentations. This is the Fargo Convention Center Committee meeting. Today we have presentations from RLE in the Fargo Dome and then later from Bruhala and Cityscapes. We're going to do introductions of our committee first, then we'll ask you all gentlemen to introduce yourselves. I'm going to start first with people who are calling in though, because I know we have three people related to the city online. I believe, Eric, are you there?
I am, Charlie. This is Eric Johnson, Assistant City Attorney.
Okay. Commissioner Pepcorn?
Yeah, Dave Pepcorn, I'm on.
Okay, and the mayor, right?
Yep, Mayor Mahoney on. Thank you, Charlie.
You bet. Anyone else online that I missed? I think we got everybody so far. Okay, my name's Charlie Johnson. I'm the chair of the committee, and this time we're going to start down there with Susan.
Good morning, I'm Susan, good morning, I'm Susan Thompson. I'm not actually on the committee, I'm the finance director for the city of Fargo, so I might be asking a few questions, thanks.
Taylor Snelling, owner Mezzaluna.
Emma McIntyre, formerly Folkways.
Kate Ballstead, Southeast Education Cooperative.
Denise Kolpak, Fargo City Commission.
Shirley Hughes, CEO of Visit Fargo Moorhead.
Claire Hughes, Clubhouse Hotel and Suites.
Joe Raso, Greater Fargo Moorhead EDC.
Kent Kolstad, president at Livewire.
Shannon Fall, president of the Fargo Moorhead West Fargo Chamber.
Okay, thank you. A couple little housekeeping things. Remember to turn your mic on when you're talking and off when you're not. and there's Commissioner Turnberg, so everyone knows her. Thank you for being here. I'm going to turn it over to whoever. Dave, are you going to start and make introductions for your team, and then the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Charlie. Thank you so much for having us here again. This is the third time we've been in front of you to share our proposal with respect to the convention center. We're pleased to do so. So thank you for that. We're going to start with our introductions. David Supis, with current president of the Fargo Dome Authority.
And I'm Bob Cunningham with Krause Anderson.
And I'm Don Deathlifs with Perkins and Will Architects.
Rich Wimkin with RLE Architects.
Rob Sobolik, Fargo Dome, City of Fargo.
And Rick Berg, India Shoe.
All right, thank you.
Rick Steen online.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Rick Steen is also with the Fargo Dome Authority, so good to have you, Rick. So it was
thank you.
A flow presentation. Our flow will start with RLE and Perkins and Will. They will go through the info with respect to the convention center. After that, it'll be followed with Krause Anderson, which will share information with respect to the hotel and entertainment district. And then FDA will pick it off from there, and we'll share information with respect to the financing, the financial performance, the economic development investment of the project, and then the impact benefits as it relates to the Fargo. So before we get into that, I'd just like to make the opening statement is the Fargo Dome Authority and its partners remain firmly convinced the Fargo Dome location represents the strongest long-term solution for the convention center due to its established regional identity, adjacency to NDSU, integrated infrastructure, operational depth, and the unique ability to support large-scale expos through the direct connection of the existing arena. In addition, the convention center and hotel retail district proposal contemplates a $120 million economic development for the city of Fargo, which feathers into the city of Fargo's long-term strategic plan. We look forward to sharing our proposal in detail, so let's get started.
Thanks, David. Here you take a look at just kind of a quick overview of the site, as we're all familiar with the Fargo Dome, kind of on the corner of 19th and University. The convention center is situated right to the south of the Fargo Dome, connected, and right east of that, you'll see the hotel right across the drive and connected with the bridge walkway. And right to the east of that is the food and entertainment area that feeds right into the flow of excitement in the area into that. The convention center, you can kind of see as an overview and circulation that we're familiar with the Fargo Dome, be able to get in and out. The convention center has kind of four main entrances off of each of the corners. The main, which being kind of right opposite of the hotel. the loading area for it with the 5 docks. So it'd be 4 down and then plus an on-grade right into the event space is that purple arrow coming from the south that would kind of feed right into that arena. There's also another that would be in the northwest corner that can feed in conjunction with the freight elevator that connects into the lower level, and then also can feed into the concourse level of the convention center. The parking patrons that are attending the conference center can park in any of the lots. If there's a ticketed event that's happening, the Fargo Dome can set it up that there's a QR code that all the conference goers would have free parking, and they can park in any of the lots and go into any of the doors and just walk in and have that flow. You can kind of see with the synergy then to the south, that's right to the shack, and its connections that would be able to for bigger events and events that coordinate between the two of them.
Okay, so what we try to do is really create a complex with the convention center so it can stand alone or it can be combined with the Fargo Dome. It is directly adjacent to the hotel, and the hotel is connected with a sky bridge at the second level. And then we have the area for retail and community events to the east that would serve the convention center as well as NDSU. Obviously, we have, and when we combine the NDSU parking lots and the Fargo Dome parking lots, we have one of the biggest parking reserves in the entire state of North Dakota, and we think that is very important for access and easily getting in, as Rich said. I think this, to us, is one of the key slides. If you see in blue, that was really the RFQ suggested program, where we had approximately 88,000, really 50,000 of exhibit space, meeting rooms, et cetera. But you can see if we build that and it is a standalone, it is not one of the largest in the Dakotas. When we take a standalone convention center and add it to the Fargo Dome, it is by far the largest facility in the Dakotas. Bigger than Bismarck, Grand Forks, Rapid City, Sioux Falls. And so the approach we've taken is to do an exclusive standalone convention center that can operate on its own, totally independent from the Fargo Dome, but also be combined with the Fargo Dome to get the really large events that will be transformative, and the goal is to try to bring thousands of people to Fargo and fill all the hotel rooms in Fargo. So to give you more detail on this, this is the ground level plan of what we are proposing. The program had asked for 50,000 square feet of exhibit and ballroom. We are showing 52,000. So in all cases, we have the standalone building that meets or exceeds everything the RFQ asked for. So 52,000. The other thing we did is we have a U-shaped pre-function concourse around it. So we can divide our large banquet hall into multiple rooms. That creates more flexibility for many different types of events. The minimum suggested program in the RFQ for pre-function was about 10,000. We have 24,000. We thought 10 would be really restricted and not be a competitive facility. We have our own 6,000 square foot kitchen, just like it was asked for in the RFQ, even though the Fargo Dome currently already has a kitchen. We have 12,000 square foot of storage, some adjacent directly to the banquet room and some in the event level. And then we also have 8,800 square feet of meeting rooms, just what was asked for in the RFQ. Those are on 2 levels directly next to the banquet hall. We also have high level of restrooms and function across from the pre-function lobby. And finally, you can see in gray on the left, this building is not landlocked. The little white building below the future expansion is electrical, but this building can keep going to the west for the future if it needs to expand somewhere down the line. You can also see on this plan the hotel is directly across the drive. Again, during nice weather, you can walk right at grade from the hotel lobby directly across into the lobby. In inclement weather or cold weather, you can take a sky bridge across and go into the second level of the pre-function area. The other thing you're starting to see is the purple around the concourse in the Fargo Dome. This building would connect directly into the concourse. So if you're going to use exhibit space, you can walk directly from Convention Center down to the exhibit. When we designed the Fargo Dome, 37 or 8 years ago is when we started. We started actually in 85. We tried to design it as a super flexible facility that can do all sorts of events from stadium to arena to expo events and even conventions, and this would further augment it and work together. On the mezzanine level, what we have up there is on the curve just at the southeast corner of the Fargo Dome, we have 3 meeting rooms, same as the ground level, and that's 4,400 square feet of meeting rooms, have our own restroom, and you can see you are able to connect from that level directly over to the second level of the hotel. And then pink to the north, that is on the mezzanine level where the Fargo Dome currently has their large meeting rooms on that, and that would all be connectable as well. And then right to the curved part of the pink to the left, there's also an option of future expansion for further meeting rooms just at the south end of the Fargo Dome field. And then down at the event level, which is the equivalent of a basement or field level, what we are proposing is that we would be adding major storage for standalone convention center, a full 10,000 down there, and then just to the southeast, more of a link in the Fargo Dome, so that allows additional space in the Fargo Dome. So as the Fargo Dome is remodeled and enhanced, that creates space so that could happen, and that is all at the field level. So again, the concept is to create a lot of flexibility, so we have a fully standalone convention center, but it can be added to the Fargo Dome and create very, very large events. One of the events we want to talk about, and a big trend in the industry, is sports tourism and tournaments. So in addition to other types of expos, because of the large 80,000 square foot floor on the Fargo Dome, you can get a lot of different courts. Whether on the left in green, it is basketball, or on the right, it's volleyball. We could also do pickleball, many other things. And so in addition to the supersize of convention plus Fargo Dome, for these type of events and others, we also have the option of combining the Shack with NDSU, and you can see that down to the southeast, where we can get way more courts, and it's an ideal location because it is a college campus, and we're also close to North High for high schools. The other thing is when we use the Fargo Dome, the floor, it's very flexible. Second in from the top, we can have a full 80,000 square foot expo or trade show. The one on the left, we can combine a trade show with a plenary session with a large speaker. We can do basketball courts, we can do wrestling, we can do a lot of different sporting events, and there's a lot of flexibility of how we can really use the Fargo Dome to augment the convention center and really have it all work as one. This is a rendering we did of the banquet hall / ballroom, where on the soffits, all of those rooms are divisible to create flexibility for meeting and breakout rooms. In addition to the 8,800 square feet, we have on the 6 rooms that were asked for the program. These are the curved rooms of the 4,400 each, 2 levels each of 3 rooms, so they can either be smaller rooms or combined into one large room. And then this is a rendering that we did of the pre-function space where we have the meeting rooms on the left. You can see 1 through 6, a sky bridge across to the hotel, and then the area to the right would take you into the banquet room. I think one of the differences between this, we want to make this uniquely Fargo, so we have considered that this needs to complement the Fargo Dome, but have way more glass and be more inviting to these public spaces so people can see what's happening and get from the retail environment to the hotel.
I'd like to just take a moment and introduce everybody to Kraus Anderson because we are the master developer of the hotel and entertainment components of the proposal. We're a 125-year-old construction firm based in Minneapolis that generates about $1.5 billion in volume per annum. We've been in the Dakotas for over 30 years, and during that period, we've done over $338 million worth of construction on NDSU's campus, including one that's about to be where we're going to have breaking ground this spring. We started developing for our own account in the 1960s, and in that time, we've developed over 90 projects that represent about $1 billion in value. So of the 90 projects, there's hospitality, there's multifamily, medical office, retail, and basically just about everything that's in a commercial component. The reason I'm saying all of that is because I want to give the audience and the committee kind of a background of where we stand and why we are the right developer for the hotel and the entertainment complex. So the project itself is the hotel, and we're looking at probably 150 to 200 rooms, 200 keys in the parlance of the hotel industry. And we have reached out to both the Marriott chain and the Hilton chain. And why did we do that? Those two firms have the best affinity programs that I bet most everybody in this room is either a Hilton Honors or a Marriott affinity member. And we also think that they give us the best opportunity to come up with the right brand for this location. Specifically, with respect to Hilton, we've talked to them about the Graduate, an Embassy Suites, or a Tapestry, and these are some photographs of some of the interiors of the hotels. And with respect to Marriott, we've talked to them about a Tribute Hotel. There's a brand new one that I'd encourage everybody to take a look at the University of Nebraska Lincoln campus, and that's where they pointed us to in terms of kind of an overall level of amenities, overall level of room quality, and so on. And also with an AC Marriott would be the other key, or the other brand that Marriott would be looking to accomplish here. We do not have yet any commitments from these hotels. This is something that we plan on starting the process immediately upon selection. We've worked with Marquette Advisors out of Minneapolis. Their bona fides are in our overall proposal. And Marquette Advisors is going to help us put together a request for proposal and bring it out to the major hotel developers and the major hotel chains that we've been speaking of. And we'll start that immediately upon selection. Now, one thing that I need to stop and just spend a moment with is we put our proposal together with the idea of having a design charrette as part of our overall process. What is a design charrette for those of you who haven't been involved in the process before? It's basically a collaboration. We get all of the stakeholders involved into a room and we talk about what is the most important things that we need to incorporate, that we possibly can incorporate into both the hotel component and the entertainment retail component. And we have an opportunity then, instead of just us kind of expressing what our opinions are, we have an opportunity to listen and learn. We think that the stakeholders' involvement will help us burnish the best possible solution for this outcome. Now, with respect to the retail entertainment component, big one on the top. The big one. Yeah. This shows the hotel footprint, and this is very obviously early on in a schematic design that shows a restaurant and some flex meeting space, but also we're thinking that by the time we're done with this, there is going to be a rooftop bar component that would also be incorporated into the hotel. Equally important is the retail and entertainment component that's to the east. We've identified this as 4 distinct buildings so that they can be phased in as we find the right opportunities for retailers and entertainment users. The important component runs down the middle of this. We're calling it the town green. This is going to allow all of the retail, entertainment, and restaurant tenants to have ample outdoor seating ample outdoor opportunities. And if you look at the very far eastern side, that little white component is a outdoor stage. So that will allow us to have music, entertainment, whatever we can kind of dream up together could be accomplished in this location. So with respect to the retailers, we've partnered with Goldmark. We think of them as the leading retail broker in Fargo that will help us guide what type of retail, restaurant, and entertainment options we can come up with. And again, the components here are schematic. They probably won't look a lot like this when it's done, but we will look at anywhere between 45 and 90,000 square feet of ground level space, possibilities for second level space. We won't be building above the second level, just so that it remains kind of a human scale as we go through. And then we've got to start thinking through things like trash deliveries and all the kind of pedestrian things you have to think about when you start to put retail plans together. I think that is it for my part, and now it's on to Rich.
So we've taken a look at the project cost, and this has been developed since 2018 with Kraus Anderson, where we've looked at many versions of a convention center on the site, and we've continued to refine that and taken a look at Kraus Anderson's long history as a firm and their national presence, but not only that, is their local presence and the marketing cost. They've also been working in conjunction in other similar facility with Perkins and Will on another project that they're actually ahead of this project on, and have very good insight to the costing of a first-class facility. So you look at here, we're at that range of 61.9 to 70.4 million for a project, taking a look at the alternatives of specific assets that you want and what you want to adjust in that market. And we've really kind of drilled into that to have a confidence level of what can be provided to provide that first-class facility, and giving that well covered in that budget. Bob?
The other components that you see on the project cost address specifically the costs that we envision for the hotel and the entertainment district. We've done extensive pro forma analysis already just to make sure that we're looking at something that can be sustained in this location with respect to the keys and the brands that we talked about a little while ago. And with respect to the entertainment district, we could put probably 4 or 5 different cost analyses in place, but we boiled it down to one, and the one that's shown here is a single-story solution. So this is a 45 to 90,000 square foot single-story solution. That's the costs that are represented here. And if we go to a second level, obviously the costs and the whole pro formas analysis is going to change. But we're confident that the pricing relative to what we can expect in room rates, what we can expect in terms of average occupancy levels are all properly reflected in the hotel. And with respect to what we think of as rents that can be sustained in the Fargo marketplace are reflected in the entertainment district.
All right, this is Rick. Can you hear me?
Yep, got you, Rick.
Okay.
Table's
Thank you.
yours.
So, just moving into the financing plan for the convention center, what we did was we took that range of estimated costs of 62 to 70 million, and we decided to take the midpoint on those costs to arrive at a reasonable financing plan for that project. And so what we have here is below that, we've identified the costs associated with the project between the convention center specific and the Fargo Dome specific or indirectly related, to try to identify what costs related to which portion of the project. So with the convention center, we have site demo. You can read pretty self-explanatory items there, down through total project costs of $52,542,000. In addition to the convention center, We've got the Fargo Dome cost specific, and we reviewed some of those as we went through the project earlier. Identified as $13,266,000 on that. Moving on, total project cost of $65,808,000. We want to move to the next slide. So when we arrived at the project cost totaling right around the 66 million mark, we worked with the city of Fargo in identifying what the proposed financing would look like to finance just the public portion, or just the convention center portion, in addition to the Fargo Dome. So the Fargo Dome Authority group utilized the modeling plans for the public portion of the project as prepared by Baker Tilly, the financing advisory group for the city of Fargo. And Baker Tilly prepared 4 different models, resulting in bond proceeds ranging from a low of about 43 million to a high of 51.5 million. Again, the FDA group used the midpoint of these projections, resulting in bond proceeds of 47.3 million, the very first item on the first column of these 4 columns, together with an equity contribution of about 13.3 million, using the FDA permanent funds. And then the next line there is obviously the other source funding of 11.8 million. Those together result in a total source of funds of 72.3 million, which, if you take a look at the use of funds below, basically provides enough money for the construction fund, the debt service reserve fund, and the cost of issuance on those bonds. Again, all totaling 72,334,000. It's pretty simple, straightforward financing plan for the public portion of this. Just a couple of comments on this. We did not deviate from the bond financing models prepared by Fargo's financial advisor. The proposed financing reflects an estimated 6.25% interest rate on the bonds, which was projected by Baker Tilly for the 25-year bonds. Just notes on that, any change to the assumed bond interest rate would result in a change to the amount of the bond proceeds that be available for the project. As an example, if the interest rate was actually dropped by 1% down to the 5.25%, that would result in an additional $5 million available for the project. And so some of these assumptions are pretty critical as you review these proposals. Another significant assumption there would be the proceeds from the lodging tax. We assume that 2% in this projection, assume that 2% growth over the first 10 years to 1% thereafter. I think that covers that. Anything to add on that, Mr. Supas?
I think you covered it. You covered it well there. We can move on to the next slide.
All right.
One of the efforts that we spent a lot of time on also was what does the Fargo Dome and the Convention Center look like from a pro forma standpoint? We've got 30 plus years of financial performance at the Fargo Dome to lean into, and we have the modeling that HVS had provided through the RFP process. So we retained Ide Bailey to help us with this process, and we certainly have the backup to all this and willing to provide it to the city if they want to go through it in finer detail. But what you're looking at right here is the pro forma on a high range. This information, the high range, shows what the Fargo Dome and the Convention Center would look like financially from an operational standpoint if melded together, and this is based what the high range what we're looking at right now. This also blends into the fact that the subsidy that comes from the city of the $500,000 for year 1, 2, and 3, and then drops down to $350 on a go-forward basis. Excuse me. And then on the bottom of the line, you'll see the annual capital set aside, which we're not bringing that into the operations of the combination Fargo Dome and Convention Center. That would be retained for capital improvements exclusive for the Convention Center on a go forward. And so what this shows is you can see from starting and budgeted at 26, and then you pull all the way through to, you look at operational in 29, is that a combined Fargo Dome, combined convention center produces a net income of $1.3 million, 1.3, 1.5, and pulls forward. So this is the high range of what we came up with as a combined Fargo Dome and Convention Center. So when and this takes in consideration of blending operations across the board. You're blending in the Fargo Dome, you're blending in the Fargo Dome staff. There is some hires that have to go on to the Convention Center. Those things, and then you have shared resources that go back and forth. So we found going through this exercise is it pulls out the efficiency of having these two combined together. On the next page, we wanted to say, hey, this is the high. This looks really nice. We like that. But of course, these are pro formas, and we're looking all the way out to 2033, which is 7 years from now. So what we did is we then said, okay, let's test it on the other side. Let's test a low. What does it look like on a low end? And as you can see, same model, same everything. We just adjusted it, brought things down to say, what does it look like? And how do we perform financially as a combined unit, Fargo Dome and the Convention Center as one unit? And you can see by the numbers down there, this is our low range. This is what it looks like on a pull forward basis. Is that you're looking at operating benefit of $700,000, $600,000 as a joint facility going forward. And so what we want to point out is that one of the things that we've learned at the Fargo Dome, and this had the Fargo Dome Authority, and we weren't the group that designed this. It was the people before us who did set up the Fargo Dome to set it up with a capital reserve to do improvements at the Fargo Dome, set it up to perform on an operational standpoint. The Fargo Dome has performed profitable for all but 2 years in its history. By combining the Fargo Dome and the Convention Center, you're producing a bottom line that's acceptable for a city-owned facility. And keep in mind, one of the things we did too is we tried to take the Fargo Dome and make it neutral. So as you look at these numbers, a lot of the benefit comes from the Convention Center in terms of its profitability that we have out there. So wanted to show you a high range and a low range of what it looks like. And then we also wanted to show you what it looks like if we just have if you have the conference center standalone. What does a conference center standalone look like if you break that out and isolate it? And as you can see from here, it still shows that it's a profitable endeavor, connected or not connected to the Fargo Dome, just standalone on its own entity that's out there. So again, when we went through this exercise, we did everything we could to test the high and the low and say, okay, what are we missing? What does it look like if we do this? What does it look like if we do that? We wanted to make sure that we were giving an honest, transparent representation of what the functionality or financial functionality of what the Fargo Dome and the Convention Center look like. So again, we have all this information that we were happy to supply to the city at request. And the other part about it too is when we went through this exercise, I think one of the things that came out, I wanted to key on this, is one of the is you begin to see the efficiencies of having a large facility connected to another large facility in terms of not only equipment exchange, human resource exchange, some things that you don't have to duplicate. It really started to pull out of this pro forma. So I just wanted to make a point that these numbers that you're seeing before them are a reflection of the efficiencies of the Fargo Dome and the Convention Center that are connected together. So with that, I will pass it over to Rob for...
Dave, this is Rick. Just
yes.
if I could add a couple things to that.
Yeah.
Two pieces, and you did touch on this, but in the combined financials, the Fargo Dome was basically at a break-even component of the combined financials. Wanted to stress that a little bit. The other piece you maybe alluded to, but one thing different here is, for the efficiencies, not only the efficiencies, but there is no outside management fee being paid to outside of the city of Fargo.
Thank you, Rick. And that's a very good point. In 2015, the Fargo Dome discharged the management team that was managing the Fargo Dome. They did a great job. We were at the point, have been around for a long time where we felt that we could manage the Fargo Dome at a local level. We knew of certain expenses that were going to come off of our P&L when we did that, which was positive. What we found in addition to those expenses, there were other expenses that came off our P&L that I wouldn't say that we were necessarily aware of, but the ability to self-manage and retain the profit back into the enterprise is a huge benefit reflected in those numbers.
Thank you, Dave and Rick. But you just took all my talking points, so I'm done. But I do concur with what you were saying. Just a couple more points on the pro forma approach here. This high range, for both the high range and the low range, the event types, event mix, and event attendances were taken out of the information provided by HVS through the RFQ materials. In the high range, we also used the usage fee schedule, so to speak, as far as room rent, facility rental, food and beverage per caps, things such as that, that were included in that information from HVS. As the Fargo Dome Authority has worked with HVS for about 10 years, along with Visit Fargo Moorhead and the different things, obviously with the process here, we had to switch over to Eide Bailey, which is great. The low range, again, used the same event type, event mix, and attendance projections that was provided in HVS. However, what we did here is working with our management team in finance, in our event planning, and our administration level, and kind of went through what our history at Fargo Dome is for the last 30 years of what we've been seeing, being able to charge, what type of food and beverage per caps we can put in there, also what some of the other regional facilities are charging for this, and that's what's represented in the low range as far as kind of adjusting the revenue and the expenses side of things in those two pro formas. As has also been mentioned, the plan, as we've talked all along with this location, is both Fargo Dome and the Convention Center will be city-owned, and in this situation, they'd be city-operated by the existing management team at Fargo Dome with expansion on the staff. So the governance structure is the same. There would be no overall private management agreements or proposals as part of this. One of the benefits here is it eliminates any management conflicts, potential management conflicts, ensures transparent financial oversight, aligns the operational decisions of the entire thing with the community priorities, and preserves all the operating revenue for reinvestment into the public assets. It reduces any, it's a big word, give me a second here, I'll put my dollar in the jar later, but the ambiguity of future financing and ensures all the operational profits go towards the facility and the investment in the visitor experience. It also helps to offer long-term financial stability through minimizing the risk to the city with the operational efficiencies through, as has been mentioned before, the existing Fargo Dome staff and added on, the FF&E that is in the building already, the systems, the vendor relationships that are there, as well as working on into the maintenance and the capital plan for the comprehensive preventative maintenance that Fargo Dome is already doing with the routine expansions, preventative servicing of the HVA and all building systems, items such as that. Important to point out, again, everything will be in-house, the catering, the concessions, the liquor licensing, the event operations, the core guest services, as well as some audio-visual, but we will operate as we do right now. So we would have a approved or preferred vendor listing for other outside services, whether it's specialty services for audio-visual, specialty event services, decor and equipment rentals, and/or if it's a type of event that does require some specialty catering or wants some specialty catering. As we do now, we would have an approved vendor list that can come in and do those types of things, along with the specialty decor or audiovisual. We have existing relationships with a lot of the companies locally, such as Gathered or Livewire, Mobile Pro, Tents and Events. All are welcome to operate out of this facility to make the user experience the best it can be. Obviously, there is a percentage fee back to the event or to the facility for the option of having those services in the building. Excuse me. As far as the sales plan and the pre-opening, the existing management staff at Fargo Dome would work on the pre-opening services level. Once this is awarded, once we have a date of how things are going to open up, they screwed up the slides on me. No, they didn't. But we would work together to hire the additional staff, a convention director of sales, as well as a convention sales associate would be hired several months or years out before the actual opening of the event to go through. But our existing staff would work with City of Fargo Human Resources to onboard the new staff, the different staff training and culture development, the implementation and testing of the technology, the coordination with Visit Fargo Moorhead and the hotel to just kind of set our policies and make sure that we're out there talking to the right groups, attending the different events, trade shows throughout the nation with Visit Fargo Moorhead and any others, and starting to leverage those relationships to get the priority bookings, the annual bookings, different things in place, and then also talking to the different groups out there as far as marketing it. As far as calendar management, as we've said before, Visit Fargo Moorhead, we would be working very closely, primarily the Director of Convention Sales and the sales associates, but also the overall administrative staff at Fargo Dome working directly with Visit Fargo Moorhead, calendar access, to look at those events that are 1, 2, 3 years out, to be booking with those. Anything inside of that window, obviously, if there's leads to work with that, but also Fargo Dome management would be working towards finalizing and putting in all that information. And again, this is just kind of an idea of the organizational chart that was put together. In those performers, we had identified about 8 to 10, as we're showing on here. The main level here with the Director of Convention Sales and the Convention Sales Associate. On the food and beverage side, this is obviously one of the main revenue sources for a facility such as this. So we would further enhance. Fargo Dome already has 5 wonderful people working in our food and beverage department. Our Director of Food and Beverage comes from the convention and banquet background, but we would be adding a full-on executive chef, a couple of banquet managers to handle the overall events in the conference center, and a kitchen supervisor in addition to our existing food and beverage catering and sales, catering and suite manager. And on the operations side, for building changeovers, building cleans, things such as that, would be adding 2 people into that area to flow into with our 4 individuals already in that department, working for all of those. So this is a type of thing where this staff would go from 26 people to, let's just say, 34, but they would flow back and forth between the different facilities depending upon what we have going on. Can handle multi-day events, can handle events at the same time, such as a convention or something going on in the conference center, as well as an event in the arena. And all of our staff would be trained and aware of everything going on so that things can move back and forth.
Schedule is take a look at the convention center, looking at getting that open in late October of '28. And as we really design that is that the hotel and entertainment district would be opened at least a month ahead of that convention center, so that there's a minimum amount of ramp-up time for them to get acclimated and up to speed for operations for conventions and then get ready to go. So just looking at that, go ahead and ready to get started. So Dave, anything and go to.
No, just close it out. Can I see the clicker? I just wanted to go back to one slide to tie into the opening statement. Bear with me here while I find that. The project cost, in the opening statement, we talked about an economic development of 120 million. If I can find it here. Right here, if you look at the upper right-hand corner, is upwards of 130 million, 120 million. That is what we're speaking to. And if you take the middle ranges as convention center at 61 million, 62 million, or whatever the range is, we're calling it 65. You're looking at the hotel cost of roughly 45 to 50 million, and then the entertainment district. That is where we're coming up with our $120 million economic development. That would be combination of the convention center, hotel, and the entertainment district. So just want to share that on a global level. Our plan was to run about 45, 50 minutes. We wanted to open up for some Q&A to the table. So at this point, we would welcome questions.
Okay, who wants to go first? Questions? I have one about the land lease. You said it would be part of the, not part of the construction cost, but part of the operating cost. I'm sorry I wasn't able to, in the tiny print, able to find it in the operation cost. So what has the land lease been determined to be? How big a part of the operating cost will that be annually?
I can probably answer that. You know, the MOU that we've been working on would be zero for the land lease on the convention center.
Okay, thank you. That's good. Okay.
We could charge more, though.
No, I think that's the answer we were looking for. Other questions? Joe?
So in your forecasted revenue, the lodging tax that you put together and shared, is there any reason that wouldn't apply to all the locations being considered for this project?
What slide are you referencing?
Rick was talking through the tax, the lodging tax, and the estimates that were done by your consultants, and I think the number was in the...
I can respond to that.
And yeah, if we keep it on this slide, that'd be great.
This right here?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Dave.
Sure. Yeah, it was really about a source and use, and it really has to do with this. The whole financing plan is put together by Baker Tilly, at least for the city, as far as I know. And what they used in that financing plan was it right above on the second line there. They, not us, the Baker Tilly for the city of Fargo, utilized projections for the lodging tax. And in those projections, they used two different scenarios. One was for the first 10 years, the lodging tax increases by 2% a year, and thereafter it goes to 1% a year increase. And the other assumption used was that it increases 3% a year for the first 10 years and then 1% a year thereafter. The one we chose to use with the financial plan we thought was most appropriate was the first column there, which is a 25-year plan with a 2% increase and a 1%. If this is the information from the city of Fargo, I'm not sure what the other models use. I'll just say that.
And then could you speak to the undetermined source of funding line?
Someone maybe at that table can.
Yeah, I can.
I think it's fairly
I've got that. So the Fargo Dome Permanent Fund is sitting roughly at about $47 million. As we looked into this project and we got deeper and deeper into it, it appeared that the drawdown on the permanent fund would be in that range of $25 million. As we got into this, that was the path that the FDA was traveling, and we broke out, when we got into the convention center and we got into the Fargo Dome, we separated out the best we possibly could to figure out what we're trying to accomplish of that $25 million that we would deploy from the permanent fund, what would be deployed specific for the benefit of the Fargo Dome, and what would be with the convention center. We came up with the breakdown, the best we possibly could, is that of that $25 million, roughly 13 of it would be direct benefit to the Fargo Dome. That's direct benefit to the Fargo Dome. The 11 million, or let's call it 12 million, that is for benefit to the convention center. So we have the money. We have the money. It's just undetermined if it can be utilized or not.
So essentially, this is saying it could be, but it may not be, and that has to be determined?
It's undetermined at this point. The money is there. It's just undetermined its ability to be deployed.
I think to kind of answer that, we've had a lot of discussions in the last couple of weeks, and really you look at the revenue stream, and I think, Joe, whatever number you use for that 47, I think that should be the same for all proposals. The only difference is if this hotel's built, there'd be a lot more money coming in. I'm teasing. But I think the other issue is, the tax is going to support somewhere between that 45, 50 million, whatever that number is. And really, I think this is probably a challenge, and I'd like to, compliment everyone that has gone through this process and brought proposals together. Many of them they're all friends, many are partners, and it takes a lot of work to kind of bring it to this point. The challenge is we really don't know and won't know the hard numbers until we get, when a group is selected, they'll dig into those numbers a little more and be able to fine-tune it. But the challenge that we have, and the Dome and NDSU have been great partners. One of the things that we hope to accomplish is refresh the Dome as well as have the convention center. Because I think those two things are kind of our common goals. And so we just didn't want to hide anything, but just show right now here's a gap that we have to deal with.
Yeah, maybe I'll have a follow-up to that, because that was part of my question. So with the Fargo Dome and the failed sales tax initiative previously, this approach with the convention center added to it allows you to accomplish the goals, or is there still going to be a gap and a need when you say refresh the Dome? We know that price tag was much more significant. So is there still that gap, or how does that all work together?
Yeah, I think, I can't remember, but I think that was like $70 or $90 million to redo the Dome. We're not looking at that kind of project right now, but, try and refresh it, deal with the restrooms, deal with concessions, and figure out how this all ties together.
Going back to the permanent fund, $47 million, if we draw down on that, you can only do so much. And how is that deployed to the convention center, deployed to the Fargo Dome? We have limited resources. So to answer your question, is in the near term, is there access to $90 million to renovate the Fargo Dome? I guess that's questionable. So we're faced with the decisions today.
Well, so can you explain to us a little bit, some of what you are suggesting here, and which is baked into this design, I think, Rich, does accomplish some of the things that you want to do. On the south end of the building, it's going to help. You're going to have a widened concourse. You're going to have more restrooms. So some of this,
yes, the short
contributes to the renovation of the Dome, right?
Yeah. Can you, Rich? I'm not familiar with the slides. Can you show the knuckle where the kind of predominantly where that a chunk of the $13 million benefits directly the Fargo Dome?
Take a look right here in that pre-function area and the meeting rooms and that knuckle, and then those orange area, the restrooms. So a lot of that core area there, it would be renovations of the Fargo Dome restrooms that would be used both ways. There'd be additional restrooms for the Fargo Dome and restrooms for the convention center. And then that common area, that knuckle, it becomes a crossover of, depending on what events is used as additional concourse space, along with the lower level in the basement, the infrastructure to allow things to move long-term and to accommodate improvements down the road. And then up on the second level, there's the ability to kind of achieve additional space within the dome space that is directly connected to space that's just created by the conference room space in that future hospitality area.
follow-up question on that. Will the ADA concerns be addressed as part of that?
They will be, the areas that we're touching will be addressing the ADA concerns. So then that would be a continuation with the Fargo Dome too, is there's, components to review as we progress through that also.
And then if I may, a new topic, but the food and beverage district, what conversations, how confident are we that that will be done a month before this project is done, and just conversations you've had to date on your confidence level there?
The answer is we haven't had very many conversations at all at this point because retailers don't commit, restaurants don't commit until you have something to give them. What we're depending upon is our experience in our 90 projects that we own in our portfolio, the relationships that we have with tenants, the relationships we have with lenders. That is what we're depending upon in terms of kind of projecting the size, projecting the components, and projecting the uses of the town green.
As a follow-up that for you, Bob, is there, and maybe Rick, is there already then sort of an agreement being put in place for the access to that land and a land lease that it's university owned? Is that correct?
Yeah, no, I think that's been part of an understanding how we can work that together. I think the main point to make clear is really this whole slide is not a responsibility for the convention center or the dome or anything else. These projects need to stand on their own. And so I think our main focus has been the convention center and how it ties with the dome. I think this is another area that needs work like any commercial project would. And so I think, who could we attract to these locations, do a market analysis, find out what's needed. So again, it's kind of the concept side. But we know that, again, one of the keys, and my former career was real estate. But I think the thing that I just really, when I think about this, the three rules in real estate, right? Location, location, location. And I've been working at some capacity on a convention center for 30 years. And I think we need to think about the future. And if we can have a location that we can expand and a location that satisfies the parking, because our goal is to get people to come here with a convention for 3 days and spend their money in Fargo. And so I think that's, really looking at Fargo as a whole community. I just think this is really such a powerful location. There's a lot of questions that I have, but I've, again, confident that those can be worked out as we go forward.
And if I may just add one thing that I should have said earlier, is everything that you see on the screen right now is privately owned, privately financed, and ground leased from NDSU.
Right. Shirley?
It's a good segue. Asking about the hotel. You said if you were chosen, you would then commence with RFPs for the hotel property. Do you have letters of intent at all versus just high-level conversations? And number two, who would manage that hotel?
The answer is that we do not have letters yet. We have conversations. We've had pro forma analysis completed. We've had feasibility analysis completed. There's still a lot of work yet to do because when you do a feasibility analysis, have we factored in the proximity to the airport? Have we factored in the proximity to even the Fargo Dome relative to football game weekends? We've only really looked at this from the perspective of being a convention hotel, when it's going to be really so much more than that. So there's still a lot of work to do. There's literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in fees to both design and to our advisors to come up with the right solution, and we haven't started spending that money quite yet.
And then any plan then or thought on the management of the hotel? Because obviously there's some that'll develop it, but they may not manage it. So that's important, obviously. And then again, I guess my other question is, Dave, to your the 12 million, right? How do we know if we were to vote that that's hard for us to know, and or even a hotel would be hard for me to go when we have other people in the bid process that are like, we can do this and we will do this. So this is a little up in the air. So I'm just trying to get a little more tangibleness there, I guess.
Just to kind of maybe address that, I probably shouldn't speak out of turn. No, go But there's, there's tremendous interest in different hotel operators to connect with a civic center or a convention center. So I think that's a unique hotel that really comes together and understands we don't need a 12,000 square foot ballroom in our hotel because we can partner with the convention center. And so it's kind of a small group, but the hotels, the Hiltons, the Marriotts, and the Hyatts, they all have specific groups within their company that zero in on this. And so I think, from my perspective, if you had someone that signed a letter of intent today, it may not be the right hotel to combine. And I think the management's a great question. I think we have to be very thoughtful about that, because a lot of times in the hotel business, someone owns it, they sell it, someone else sells it, and we want this hotel to be first class for the next 30 years. And so I think as we get into this, the right operator is going to understand that, and there'll be, agreements that hold them accountable for that.
Emma?
I just want to revisit, I know the entertainment district is private. Two clarifying questions I had was confirming that you said you envision the space to be a single level building, as outlined in your budget. The entertainment district buildings?
The budget, as it's set forth in this proposal, the numbers are only for a single level building. However, there's a possibility that we have one or more multi-level buildings
Okay.
in the entertainment district.
Okay, sweet. And then the second question I had was management of the green space. You're anticipating that to be private as well. Maintaining the space, keeping it clean, programming it, I know was something that was in an initial discussion, and that certainly takes time and people, and just wanting to make sure it's not something we should plan to budget for in the convention center budget
In the past, we have worked on projects where we create a special service district which has a nominal additional fee as part of the common area charges for the retailers, and that's intended to program, clean, maintain what I'm calling the town green.
Okay, sweet.
Like a business improvement district or a
Yes.
condo association, however you want to, whatever you want to call it.
Precisely.
Okay.
Where we would be the benevolent dictator.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, one final thing about the finances. So the 13 million you are willing to commit, it's the other 11.76 that you're wondering about, because there's really nowhere else for that to come from.
I want to slice that. The $13 million, is direct benefit to the Fargo Dome. The $12 million that is short is undetermined as we have our conversations with NDSU. The Fargo Dome, the authority has the money, it's just undetermined at this point as we're working with NDSU.
And if you spend all of that money, you'd still have about 20 to 22 million left in your permanent fund?
25 less 40, 22-ish million dollars. Yes.
And what do you feel you have to sit at? What's the low? I mean, you want to keep money in that fund, no matter what
I would
happens.
say it's in that 15-ish range. Is it 13? Is it 17? It's somewhere in that wheelhouse that we need to maintain a balance to generate interest to do the continued CapEx to the Fargo Dome.
Okay. All
Charlie,
right.
I think it's also important to note, as has been discussed, that this response was based on what was asked by the convention committee. So the amount of ballroom space, the amount of meeting room space. I think others have kind of brought up that the 3% funding doesn't necessarily equal out with the amount of space and the type. So I think there are definitely conversations that can happen between the Fargo Dome Authority, the City of Fargo, the convention committee too, should this, site be to say, okay, can we alter the building program? Because it's attached to Fargo Dome, are there things there to lower the overall cost of the proposed building program and maybe build that into a future expansion and or utilize other spaces within the Fargo Dome? So this was to keep it what was asked for.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Thank you. We're going to, thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate this. Thanks, Rick. We appreciate the presentation. We're going to take a 10-minute break, and we will reconvene at 11:45, we'll say, for our second presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, I think we're ready to get started again. Thank you for allowing us that break. We're moving on now to the presentation from our friends at Bruhala and Cityscapes. And we're not going to introduce ourselves again because I think you guys all know us by now, but if you could introduce your team. Do you have anyone online?
Nope.
Okay, and yeah, just go ahead, Mark, take it away. Floor is yours.
Well, happy Tuesday. My name is Mark Bjornstad. I'm the president and co-founder of Drecker Brewing Company in Bruhala. I first want to start by thanking everyone at this committee from the city for all the care and time that you've put into this process. We made it. This is the final proposal. I know you guys are excited, and we are genuinely excited to be here too. Before I get started, I want to introduce the people at the table. To my right is Kevin Bartram with MBA Architects, MBA Development in Bruhala. He is one of the key people who has helped shape this plan at every point from the very beginning. To my left is Rob Remark with JLG Architects, our design leads who have approached this project with passion and creativity, and who will be walking you through the site and building design plans shortly. While not sitting at the table with us today, we are also joined by our partners at Cityscape Development and Mortensen Construction, both of whom have been integral into bringing this project to where it is today. And back at Drecker and Bruhala, there are nearly 100 people from our company and 15 other local businesses who came to work this morning excited to welcome the first guests to the Fargo Convention Center. Before we get into the proposal, I want to take a moment to reflect on how we got here and why we are here today. Charlie, I pulled up my calendar recently, and our first meeting on this project was February of 2024. You sat us down, looked at the open land to the west of Bruhala, and challenged us to take this on. 2 weeks later, we came back to you with our first plans. That was March 1st, 2024, 2 years and 10 days ago. We have spent every day since dreaming about this project, working on it, and listening. Listening to this committee, listening to the CVB, listening to event planners, listening to visitors, and listening to the community. Every conversation shaped what you are going to see today. We are not here because we stumbled into the RFP. We are here because we believe in this project and the impact it will have on this city. We believe in Fargo and what it can become, and we believe that our plan is the best way to make that happen, and that we are the right group to see that through. And there's another thing. Why? This project just didn't fit into our calendar. It fit right into our company. Everything we do at Drecker and Bruhala traces back to one purpose: create experiences and destroy expectations. That is not a tagline. It is how we make every decision, how we hire every team member, and how we measure ourselves every day. And long before this project entered the picture, one of our 10-year goals was already written down. That was to put Fargo on the map as a destination experience with hospitality that is an extreme outlier. We had already decided this was our purpose. This project is just the opportunity to execute that at the scale it deserves. That is why we have been at this for 2 years. That's 740 days. That is the passion and commitment that has shaped every page of what we submitted, and that is exactly why we are so excited to be in front of you. Now, 2 years of work, planning, and deep belief in what this project can mean for Fargo has led to this moment, and we want you to know that when we handed over our proposal on February 27th, every section was finished. The design is complete enough to go out to bid. The land is controlled, the hotel is committed, the financing is structured, and the partnerships are in place. We did not submit a direction or a concept. We submitted a plan. As you evaluate everything you've seen from all 4 proposers, we would ask that you hold that standard. Ask whether each proposer is ready to build. Ask whether the site is fully controlled. Ask whether the private development is actually committed. Ask where the funding gaps are and who will fill them. Ask how complete the architecture and engineering really are.
Those are the questions that separate an idea from a commitment. Our answer to all of them is in the proposal that you have. And here's what we're going to go through today. We're going to talk about a site and a building designed for one purpose: convention center operations and the guest experience. It's not shoehorned onto an existing building or forced onto a site that barely fits. It is a clean, well-resolved plan in a neighborhood that is on the edge of something real, and this project is the catalyst. We're going to talk about a hotel that earns its place, a property that tells a story, builds on the Fargo brand, and is genuinely connected to the convention center in a way that makes both better. We're going to talk about a partnership with the CVB that's built to perform. Each organization doing what it does best, working towards one purpose, representing Fargo, and selling one convention center. The CVB sells, and we execute. We're going to talk about an operations team that has already proven what it can do. We are not asking you to imagine what we might build. We built it. Bruhala is already here, already running, already rated amongst the best in the region, and already one of the top attractions for visitors and community members alike. This is not our first time. This is what we do. We're going to talk about a financing plan that does more than just build a building. It expands a construction budget, provides for long-term maintenance and capital reinvestment, and it is structured to catalyze additional development across the entire neighborhood, all while reducing the city's risk. Lastly, we're going to talk about a visitor experience that leads with hospitality, not just sales or logistics, not just capacity charts or calendars, true hospitality. The kind of story someone shares about Fargo when they get home. That is why we are here today. We are confident in every page of what we have submitted, and I am equally confident in the people you are about to hear from. So with that, I want to hand it over to Rob Remark from JLG Architects, who's going to take you through the site plan and the building design and show you exactly what we mean when we say this facility was built for one purpose and one purpose only. Rob?
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, committee, everyone in the room. It's been an absolute privilege to kind of be able to advance the design with this collaborative team and a team that's as passionate as Mark and Kevin and the expanded group. One thing that I think is really unique about our project is it's focused on vision. And it's been focused on listening to the vision that this community has put forth for the project. So as we prepared for today, it was going back through past articles and news things and different clips. And I re-listened to the Chamberlink podcast with Tyler Fishbach, where he interviewed Shannon and Kent and Charlie, and it was right after the first RFP had been dropped for phase one. And it was explaining to the community, okay, what was dropped and what's the vision and what are you all looking for? And it was a great way to kind of come back and refocus on what's really the heartbeat and the why behind this project. And Charlie, you talked about the right programs, the right spaces and size of spaces that need to be able to come together to host the experience that supports the vision for Fargo. Kent, you spoke about a world-class facility, understanding that there were going to be constraints on the project, but a hope that it would be a quality facility that would be expandable into the future, that could live into the economic development and the growth that this community will continue to have. And it dovetailed perfectly into, Shannon, what you were sharing about, like, the timing. Why is now the right time? And you talked about layered branding opportunities and economic growth. Other great facilities like the airport that was coming on, the sports center that is now active and bringing people to our community. And you talked about how proud you were to be part of a community that sees opportunity and then isn't fearful and goes out and seizes those opportunities. And that really stuck with me as I think about the team and I think about the work that we've developed. And so as we're putting this together, it's like, well, how do we make sure we share that this vision is comprehensive and that it is literally seizing that vision that Fargo's laid out for it? So on the screen, you're looking at a bird's eye image. This is kind of a snapshot of the Fargo Convention Center, the connected hotel, just west of Bruhala. And you can see how this is laid out. And you can see some of the core differentiators that make this project really unique and live into that vision. A couple of those, and we'll continue to talk about this, is just the sole dedication of the facility, being flexible and adaptable, but focused on the convention and the meeting experience. With that, Mark already cued on it, and we'll hear a lot more about it today. Experience is at the heart of this design. It's at the heart of this strategic master plan. This master plan is smart, it's scalable, it's functional. You'll see that it's taking advantage of First Avenue North, and it's coming right up to the street edge, and it's opening itself up to the energy of First Avenue, and First Avenue to the energy of the building. We want to make sure that this is a connected community building that's full of activity and is seen as being full of activity and is, tightened up with the infrastructure of the community. Also, of course, we've talked about the location. There's unmatched access to this location, a location that's already serving this area really well along First Avenue. You're 1.5 miles from the I-29, I-94 corridor, giving this broad connectivity to the entire region, right down to the site and the location here. You're also 1 mile from Broadway, which is a 5-minute Uber, $10 Uber ride to the Jasper Hotel. And then, of course, the key to this is First Avenue North, in that it is designed literally for handling traffic that's coming into the downtown and leaving the downtown and crossing through that space. So as we think about this site and this project, we don't think about a risk, we think about an opportunity, and the opportunity to seize an opportunity for continued development and advancement. We think of this location as both a conduit connecting our community as well as a gateway that's supporting the continual advancement of all of Fargo and the region. As we look at that in 2 dimensions on a site plan, you can start to see some of the things that really make this project different than some of the others. You're looking at, in blue, 117,000 square foot convention center, as well as the connected hotel, all connected together on an east-west access. You're looking at 460 new on-grade parking stalls, strategically located to the west of the convention center and to the east of the hotel, offering front door drop-off and parking access for people who are coming to this site right for the event that they're going to. We think this is a differentiator. You're seeing expandability. You're seeing expandability both on land that's available directly to the west for this to expand for additional parking or other development, as well as in phase 1, we talked about the relationships with the properties across the street and the opportunity for this entire area to grow together to support the needs for parking and other development opportunities. There's over 874 potential stalls in that area, as well as future development. As we dive into the building a little bit, we wanted to start with kind of, the big space, the event hall, the ballroom. Here you're looking at 50,500 square feet of open, column-free space. It's longer than a football field. You're looking at a space that's divided by 7 different air curtains or walls, divisible walls, separating the space into a very adaptable footprint for the experience to be able to be tailored specifically to the different events. One of the things that we want to emphasize, and we highlighted it just in pink and kept everything white around it, is it's sandwiched by the pre-function experience on the north, and then the back of house storage and kitchen function on the south. So we'll dive into that a little bit too. Really quickly, as we think about the mix of opportunities for this space, we think comprehensively about the campus and the experience. We want to make sure that the space is completely adaptable. So here you're just seeing one. If you look at the proposal, there's about 8 sheets of different layout options. But we're showing one that shows total mixture of events and opportunities. So on the west, you're seeing this idea of a 1,000-seat sort of bleacher, stadia-style, keynote speaking event that could be happen while you're staging booths, while there's a banquet staged, while there's meeting rooms broken out across the entire facility. So you're seeing how the mixture of spaces and even multiple different events could be programmed and hosted all at the same time within the space. So what does that feel like? It starts to feel like that. This is that 50,500 square foot hall. It's open, it's flexible, it's built on the 25-foot bay. Like I said, it's 370 feet wide, and it's about 32 feet from the floor to the bottom of the structure, allowing all kinds of different events to be able to happen and be hosted and be flexible in the space. Sometimes you're going to want the space to be a little bit more intimate and to be able to host dinner events or the banquets or pre-function things that need to be in that space while the other spaces are being used for meetings and other things. You can see here how one of the drivers of our design is focused on access to natural light. As you continue to look at the renderings and the images that are shown, you'll see that there's views in and out of even the exhibit hall, showing the sky, showing natural light, showing views in and out. You know, I think most of us have probably been to a convention or a series of meetings where it's a long day. And one of the ways that we can help alleviate support the endurance of those sort of events is giving people access to natural light and space for them to move around. So this is a view looking out at the east side of the ballroom space, out towards the shared courtyard between the hotel and the convention center. Really quickly, I want to touch on the back of house. This is a key differentiator for this project. One reason that it is because it offers 10,000 square feet of storage space directly adjacent to the entire length of the exhibit in the ballroom. And what that's doing, and those pink arrows are showing, is it allowing you to actually access all of the different spaces within the convention floor, even if they're subdivided off, to be able to stage and support those functions throughout the day, throughout an event, or be able to bring on multiple events at the same time. In between, where it's labeled service corridor, you're actually seeing a luxurious 14-foot wide corridor. It's the highway for the back of house support, because there's going to be catering, there's going to be a lot of people moving throughout the space to make the experience great. So that's there to support that. Of course, in green, you're seeing the green rooms. So also with access off the back of the building, allowing there to, again, support a great, unique event experience where you've got connection to the pre-function space, you've got connection to the meeting rooms, you've got connections to the courtyard, but also have the privacy to be able to set up, to be able to host really unique and memorable experiences. Additionally, I'll just note that there are other supporting spaces, like for instance, this plan has over 100 toilets fixtures in it. Like it's huge. It's looking for 9,000 people. So there's a lot of toilet fixtures, banks of support spacing toilet fixtures, as well as catering and support spaces on the north side of the building for when the meeting rooms are being used and the ballroom is being used for something different. Really quick snapshot of how that back of house starts to work. You're looking at two recessed loading docks as well as on-grade loading right into the storage area to support the kitchen and storage, but additionally, making sure that there's on-grade access right into the event hall and into the ballroom exhibit space so that vendors can come in and then pull right out and then access the parking just to the west of that area, as well as support buses and travel groups, et cetera, that are coming in and using the facility. As we move back towards the public space, you're looking at pre-function here. You're looking at a 56-foot wide, or 56-foot deep, I should say, by 300 space. So it's significant in size, around 20,000 square feet. As well as that connection east to west, we really think of this as that public spine. At the center of that, you see the connector, which is a two-story atrium space that really creates that visual connection from the main level of the building to the second level of the building. Again, emphasizing how important that connectivity is. We know that great experiences rely on great pre-function space. And of course, we want that pre-function space to be on the north side of the building, bringing that activity to First Avenue and keeping the life and the energy of the building 365 days a year, happening right there along the street. Additional to that, you're seeing the hotel and how that connects all the way for an experience that can travel through to Bruhala. So this is what that starts to feel like. We want it to be warm, it needs to be welcoming, it needs to be flexible, and it needs to be adaptable. It needs to be a space that can transition for a convention, breakout session, a space that can offer 600 people to sit in a banquet experience. The space is designed more like an airport concourse. It's a spot that you can plug in your computer and work for a couple hours between sessions. And most importantly, it's the spot where we think of incubation happening, where people are sharing ideas and they're coming out of a session and they're mingling. We want it to be comfortable and something that continue to change and advance as the convention center changes and advances into the future. We've talked about how important it is to have that connection to First Avenue. Talk about how important it is to have connection to natural light and an activator for this entire neighborhood. Really quickly, Charlie, I know we've talked about this a lot of times, how important meetings are, having a meeting center. So really quickly on a snapshot here, just wanted to touch on, there's 14 different meeting rooms planned for this facility. The second floor of the building having 10 breakout meeting rooms designated specifically for that with their own dividable walls. So they can be configured from a 20-person boardroom all the way to the larger breakout meeting rooms on the, in the event hall space that can be sized for 200 or 400 depending on how you're utilizing the doors and the partitions. Not to mention adjacent space at Bruhala. I'm going to pass it back to Mark here. We're going to talk a little bit about the hotel, which is really just an extension to the experience and the pre-function space.
Thanks, Rob. Before I talk about the flag, I want to say something about us as the operator. We know how to run a hotel. We've been running a hotel for 3 years. And in that time, Bruhala has earned the Forum's Best of the Best for Best Hotel. It earned the CVB Pineapple Award, and it earned the Chamber's Emerging Business of the Year. And it consistently ranks among the highest rated properties in the region. We did not inherit that reputation. We built it with every single guest and every single experience. That is the standard we're bringing to this new property. So Marriott, on the flag, we chose the Marriott Tribute portfolio deliberately. For meeting planners evaluating host cities, a Marriott-affiliated property is frequently a baseline requirement. It gives attendees booking confidence and a standard they trust. That matters for our ability to compete and win events. But within Marriott, Tribute is the right fit because of what it stands for. It is a collection of independent boutique hotels bound by indie spirit and a commitment to connecting people and places. Every property has its own name, its own story, its own identity. There's no fixed template. Our Tribute Hotel will be something visitors won't see in any other city, full of character, intentional design, and a genuine sense of place. We have full creative control while maintaining access to Marriott's global distribution network and loyalty program. That is exactly what we're building here. A hotel under its own name, its own brand, and a story built specifically to reflect this community and this campus. The Tribute portfolio was built specifically for this kind of project, and this project is exactly what the brand was built to support. So, as Rob showed you, the site is designed, the building plan is complete, the hotel is committed, flagged, and fully funded. Every dollar of the city's investment goes exactly where it should, into the ground and into the steel and into the building and to building the most competitive convention facility this region has ever had. I want to hand it over to Kevin now, who will walk you through exactly how this gets built, what it costs, when it opens, and how the financing structure makes it all possible. Kevin?
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Rob. So, I knew I was going to do that first thing every time. Now I'll never turn it off probably the rest of the night. But thanks, Mark. Thanks, Rob. It's very exciting to talk about the construction schedule and funding and other things like that on this project. We've been working on this project diligently, nonstop, really, since over the last 2 years, but especially since the Phase 1 submittal and on the Phase 2 submittal. We've been working on finishing drawings, finalizing drawings, engineering the drawings. That has us ready to break ground. Our schedule is showing that we would break ground. Our goal is to break ground August 1st. We'd like to have this, the majority of this construction season available for construction this year, not next year. We want to start this year. If we can do that, hold that schedule this summer, our opening date would be April of 2026. That's a big deal to open in the spring of 2026. We would open before the busy hotel season in Fargo, and
Spring
before
of 2028.
28. I said 26. 28. We'd open. Yeah, it'd be great if we could open in 26. But we'd open before the summer hotel season in 28, and we'd open before the fall convention season in 28. It would allow us to start booking conventions right now. It's 2 years down the road, but we could book them without any fear of the project not being done. We could book those events that following fall of 28. The hotel has been vetted We've had several drawings go back and forth to Marriott. We've had their responses back. We've responded to those. We've made some changes where they required it. And so we're way down the road in terms of the hotel design as well, and the hotel schedule follows right behind on the convention schedule. So both of those, both the hotel and the convention center would open about the same time. In terms of construction costs, the first thing I wanted to point out on this form, this slide, is this is the total project cost for the convention center. The first line item is land cost, and that number is zero. I can't say that more than once or often enough. That number is zero. This land is about 250,000 square feet of land available for the convention center and the parking lot, and that is being provided to the city at no cost. The construction estimate is based on the drawings that have been prepared so far. We have the entire structural system of the convention center has been engineered. The entire site work package has been engineered. A majority of the mechanical and electrical has been engineered. So these estimates that Mortensen has provided, these estimates are based on drawings that are known. They're not based on assumptions and things of that sort. They're based on actual drawings, actual square footages, actual sizes of equipment and structures and things like that. In addition to that, we have operating line item for operational costs, project management, staffing during construction. We even have a line item for property taxes, assuming that the land would still be taxed until it is deeded to the city. Legal and accounting expenses, furniture, FF&E, and a reasonable contingency as well. That totals for the convention center about $58.5 million. Our estimate for the hotel portion is about $42.5 million. So we realize $58.5 million is more than what was presented by the city for the budget. I think the Fargo Dome submittal before us did a pretty good job explaining where we're going to come from in terms of the financing. We're kind of going down the same path of trying to utilize the $3.7 million of tax proceeds for this project and spend it wisely on the project, and we're proposing and suggesting a couple of revisions on how that money is allocated. On that this slide, the first column with the purple in there, the first column top to bottom is the city. The proposal that Baker Tilly put together in establishing the budget of about $41 million. That was based on starting with that $3.7 million number, but taking $600,000 off the top to use for estimated losses on the convention center, and also for establishing a reserve fund for the convention center. So in effect, then it's down to about $3.1 million available for debt service. The rest of the assumptions that the city provided and Baker Tilly provided, we essentially are following the rest of those assumptions. But our big change in this is that instead of the city being responsible for losses and having to fund those losses, we're confident enough in our facility design and our operational plan that we will take responsibility for those losses. So that means that the part of that money is available then for debt service. The other big line item was the capital reserve set aside. There was a proposal, the Baker Tilly proposal takes $250,000 a year and sets that aside for reserves for 25 years. Our proposal is that the city, we work with the city to develop a TIF district up and down First Avenue and to utilize that TIF district for the capital reserve. Just real quickly, if the $250,000 is the amount that goes into the capital reserve and there's no other money that goes into that over 25 years, that totals a little over $6 million. Plus some interest earnings, it would be a little bit more than that. But if you imagine sitting here 25 years from now and saying, how are we going to add on to this building, or how are we going to replace this roof, or how are we going to do something with the parking lot, and you only have $6 or $8 million available. It's just not going to work. A TIF district would create a vehicle for, who knows how much could be set aside within that TIF district. Could be well over $100 million, could approach $200 million. That money is the city's money. That is not an incentive for us as a development or developers. We have We, in fact, are not requesting any assistance, financial assistance in the form of a TIF or payments from the city or anything like that. We're taking the risk of the loss, and we're paying our taxes on it, and we're not on the building, on the hotel building, and we're not requesting a TIF of any sort. So anyway, that $600,000 that's been pulled off the top, we're suggesting that that be put back in and utilized for debt service, and that the last two columns show two quick examples that our bond consultant put together for us that are $54.5 to $59.25 million. In reality, it could be well over $60 million if we work together to figure out what the funding model should be at the end when the bonds are actually sold. So I'm going to say it again just because I have it written down here, but we are not requesting a TIF for the hotel, and the TIF district will not benefit our development. Our hotel would be paying its own taxes, which would be somewhere between $250,000 and $300,000 a year. If you think about it, the amount that was going to be set aside for reserve, we're more than replacing that by actually paying taxes on the hotel from day one. That by itself is a huge differentiator. I mentioned the TIF district. Mark, if you wanted, was going to go into a little bit more detail on the TIF district. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. What Kevin just walked you through is not just a financing structure. It turns a budget from a limitation into an opportunity. That is what a true public-private partnership looks like. When this committee issued its RFP, you were not looking for a developer to come in and ask what the city could do for them. You were looking for a creative partner who would look at the same constraints everyone else saw and find a way to do more. That is exactly what this TIF district does. It is not a handout to us as developers. We aren't asking for any tax assistance with the private development. The TIF district is an opportunity and an asset for the city, and it delivers a bigger, better building using the same hotel lodging fee revenue without adding an ounce of risk to the city. The TIF district expands the construction budget, and that matters because what you do with that money is the difference between building a building that competes and a building that sits empty. We could have designed an 80,000 square foot box, minimal breakout rooms, no natural light, back of house crammed into whatever's left over, a building that technically meets the program requirements and would land at the very bottom of the comparables that HVS set out in its market study. We chose not to do that. We designed a building with a full 117,000 square feet, all devoted entirely to the convention center. It has flexible, divisible exhibit and ballroom space that can run multiple groups simultaneously. 10,000 square feet of storage, 9,000 square feet of meeting rooms, and a 6,500 square foot catering kitchen, natural light, strategic flow, a design that can grow and expand. This is a facility that when meeting planners pull up the comparables and look at what Fargo is offering against Grand Forks or Sioux Falls or Bismarck or Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Fargo will be at the top. Not at the bottom, not in the middle, not somewhere where we'll struggle to compete, at the top. That is where Fargo belongs. And that is the only position from which you can consistently win bookings, activate the building, and deliver the full economic impact this community is counting on. The TIF district is what makes that building possible, and it's our sales and operation plan that will fill it. Our financial pro forma, when we get into the financial projections, they are built directly on the HVS event activity and demand assumptions. We did not invent our own optimistic numbers. We started with the independent study this committee commissioned and priced it against real market data. What you will notice when you look at our pro forma is that our salary and wage structure is very lean. That is not an accident. That is not a cut corner. It is a direct and strategic benefit of the CVB partnership I'm going to explain. Because the CVB is funding and staffing the sales and marketing function from its own budget, the city is not carrying that overhead on the books of the convention center. That changes the financial picture materially from year one. In year one, we project a modest operating loss, and that loss is fully covered, either by the TIF district or by waterfalling to us as developers, not to the city. You are not on the hook. By year 3, we're breaking even, and in years 4 and 5, this facility is stabilized and performing. That is a responsible ramp, and it is consistent with how convention centers perform nationally, and it is fully funded without city risk. So one team with one goal, no conflicts, just truly aligned interests. I want to talk about something that sounds operational, but is actually strategic. You asked for unified management, and that is what we are delivering. Think about what that actually means. The convention center, the Tribute Hotel, Bruhala, the surrounding development, the parking, the catering, the event calendar, one management group coordinates all of them. One leadership team, one set of interests. That allows us to be dynamic and flexible with pricing and discounting strategy that leads to bookings and increased revenue. There are no booking conflicts or blackouts to negotiate around, no separate facility calendar to reconcile. There's no third-party manager who also needs to book regional competing facilities. Everyone's interests are aligned towards the same goal: a busy and active Fargo Convention Center. When the convention center is busy, every hotel and restaurant in Fargo is busy. We will book this facility to its maximum potential to deliver the maximum benefit to the city. There's no ceiling. A third-party manager has other buildings in other markets. Their job would be to operate this one to a minimum expectation. Our job is to make this one exceptional. With universal management and universal goals, you get universal success. Now about the CVB partnership. The CVB sells and we execute. And that is the model that works because each organization is doing what it actually does best. But I want to be clear about something. This is not just a shared calendar or a monthly coordinated meeting or a consulting arrangement. The CVB is a true partner in this convention center, and that distinction matters. The CVB has spent decades building relationships with meeting planners, associations, event organizers across the country. They have the industry presence, the credibility, and the sales infrastructure to go out and fill the pipeline. That function is funded from their own budget with no reliance on the city to pay for the team. But what we are really doing is deploying the full capability of the CVB, not just their sales team. Their event assistance program, the badges, the amenity support, the tools they already use to help attract events to the area all come with this partnership. The Housing Bureau gets integrated directly into the booking channel, so every planner who books this facility gets access to a coordinated hotel management system that most markets our size simply cannot offer. That is a real competitive advantage in the sales conversation, and it is already built. Shirley even envisions putting a satellite Visit Fargo Moorhead booth right inside the convention center lobby. So every guest and planner that walks through those doors feels the full weight of this community's commitment to welcoming them. That is what a full partnership looks like. They are fully invested in the success of this facility because this is their facility too. It's their community too. When this convention center wins, Visit Fargo Moorhead wins, and the Fargo community wins. The last thing I want you to understand about our sales and operation plan is this. We are not passive operators waiting for inquiries to fill the calendar. We create demand. We produce events, Dreckerfest, Fuller's Ball, Hellsbury Tattoo Convention, Melt Cheese Rave, Hot Dish Fest, which was just named one of the top food festivals in the Midwest by Midwest Living. These are events that we built from an idea and now draw people to Fargo from across the country. In those first 2 to 3 years while the CVB is building the convention pipeline, those early years when every convention center is fighting to establish itself, we will not be sitting idle on an empty calendar. We will be producing events, filling the calendar, generating revenue, and showing the market exactly what this facility can do. Some of those events might migrate from Bruhala. Some of them will be built specifically for the new space. All of them will put heads in beds and dollars into the Fargo economy. And speaking about demand, attraction, and capacity, we attract over 550,000 guests annually through our doors right now. HVS projected a convention center in Fargo would attract around 150,000 guests annually. We know how to draw a crowd. We know how to make them stay, and we know how to make them come back. We're already doing it. Making a guest come back to Fargo starts with what they experience when they get to Fargo. It's about branding and creating a visitor experience. People know about Fargo. Unlike any other city our size in the country, they know something cool must be going on up here. But when people think about Fargo or come here for the first time, it is almost never because of our history or the agriculture or the plains. Those are things they discover once they're here, things that they respect and love about the area, but they are not differentiators, and it is not what drew them. What draws people to Fargo is something harder to name, but it's a lot more interesting. I get to travel all over the country and in the world representing Drecker, and in doing so, I get to represent Fargo. I talk about Fargo a lot. Every time someone sees where I'm from, they know this city. They know that something special might be happening here. And I can tell you, people are curious. They think this place is weird. They think the people must be weird. They want to know more. What they see from the outside is something a lot of people who live here every day have maybe forgotten because it's so ingrained in our culture. They see something weird and quirky and completely genuine. They see Upper Midwest nice. They see a place that doesn't take itself too seriously. They see that tongue-in-cheek, restrained but funny sensibility that is just completely and authentically Fargo. That is what attracts people, and that is the brand that we are going to build on. And we know how to do this. Our team creates brands, environments, and experiences every single day, and they carry away a pile of awards every year doing it. We know what Fargo looks like from the outside because we live on both sides of those lines. We know what people are looking for when they come here, and we know how to deliver it in a way that they will never forget. So where does this brand live? Well, first it starts in the hotel with its strongest presence. The Marriott tribute property we are bringing to this campus is not a generic flag or parcel. It tells a story. It is designed from the ground up to express this place, this culture, this specific kind of weird Fargo energy. It will continue into the convention center. The brand expression will step down and wait to allow for flexibility a convention center requires, but it does not disappear. It lives in the environment, in the materials, in the moments of surprise and delight that planners and guests will not see coming, but they will absolutely remember. And then it comes to life in hospitality. This is the part that most people miss, and it is the part that we are the most passionate about. A brand is not just what people see. It's what they feel. It's how you make them feel. It is the greeter at the Visit Fargo Moorhead booth who makes you feel like you just walked into their home. It's the parking attendant dressed in a full parka and a trapper hat looking like he came straight out of the movie and a quirky accent who asks you if you're here to use the wood chipper. Those details are not accidental. They are designed. They are intentional. They are built into a structure and planned the same way we plan every other element of the operation. This is how we create an experience people carry home with them, and that is how you create a story worth telling. I want to tell you something else about the brand that we are genuinely excited about, and I think once you hear it, you'll understand why. We are partnering with the Plains Art Museum to commission a landmark sculpture installation for this campus, something huge and completely new, something iconic, something weird and fun, and truly Fargo. Think about Cloud Gate in Chicago. Think about Spoon Bridge and Cherry in Minneapolis. Neither of those pieces had anything to do with the history or the landscape of their cities. Nobody looked at Chicago and said, you know what this place is all about? Giant reflective beams. But it became Chicago. It cannot be separated from that city now. It shows up on every postcard, in every visitor photo. It is part of the identity of that place in a way that no building or skyline shot ever will be. That is what we are creating here, a piece that will become part of Fargo, that people will take pictures with, post and share, that will show up on postcards and travel blogs and Instagram feeds. It will make someone who has never been to Fargo say, what is that? And where is that? And how do I get there? It will be the kind of thing that only makes sense here. And that is exactly the point. A visitor experience is not just the collection of all the amenities. It is a complete, designed, intentional expression of the place, delivered at every touch point, from the moment someone inquires about the bookings to the moment they get home and tell people about it. That is the experience we are going to create, and that is the experience this community and our guests deserve. So let me bring it home. What you asked for is what we have delivered. Everything we have walked through today fulfills the expectations or exceeds what you put out in the RFP. There's no gaps, no unfulfilled requirements, no pieces of this proposal that still need to be figured out. It is complete, so let me be specific. You asked for a site. We are giving you the land, free to the city, shovel-ready, with ample free parking right at the door. No land swap, no asking the city to give up an asset it already holds, no acquisition risk, just controlled, ready ground, positioned right at the edge of downtown in a neighborhood that is primed for everything that will follow. You asked for a building. We are delivering the largest, most flexible, functional convention center in all of the group of proposals. Designed from the ground up for one purpose and one purpose only. Not attached to a competing facility, not forced into an existing building, not crammed onto a site that just almost works. A building that is beautiful, expandable, and built entirely for convention operations and guest experiences. You asked for a financing plan. We are delivering a structure that creatively expands the construction budget, provides for long-term maintenance and improvement and expansion, and removes downside risk from the city and taxpayers. That is an opportunity, and it delivers more building for the same public investment. You asked for a sales and operation plan. We are delivering a strategic partnership with the CVB that deploys the full capabilities of both organizations towards one goal, filling the event calendar and delivering an unforgettable guest experience. Because when heads are in beds and butts are in booths, the real benefit arrives. Sales tax from every visitor, property tax from every development that follows. That is where the economic impact lives, and that is what this plan is designed to maximize. And you asked for a visitor experience. We are delivering a brand, a hotel, a campus, and a hospitality operation that defines this community. It creates and adds a new aspect to that Fargo brand and the experience people are already looking for when they come to Fargo. The kind that keeps them coming back, the kind that makes them tell stories. This plan delivers undeniable value, reduced risk for the city and taxpayers, and an expanded opportunity for the entire community. Now, one more thing, vision. I want to leave you with something that Rob hinted at earlier, but wasn't a requirement in the RFP. And I think it deserves a special mention. Vision is one of the strongest assets we bring to this project. We had a vision for this neighborhood, and when people thought we were crazy and out of our minds for leaving the heart of downtown and building on the edge of it, but that is exactly where the opportunity was. That is where the future is, and it is exactly where this project fits. Right at the doorstep of downtown, with space for parking, room for development that follows, and easy access to everything else about this city that people love. The walk from our site to the heart of downtown is 15 minutes. That is the same distance as if you were walking from Bell Tower to Spaghetti Western. Downtown has filled its boundaries from north to south. Now, downtown is going to grow west. Some people would look at this area and ask, why would you put a convention center in a gravel lot or across the street from an industrial pipe yard? Skeptics might say, nothing is going on out here. And that is exactly where the vision and truth comes in. Because it will not be a gravel lot when the convention center opens. It will be a fully activated entertainment district with development and energy radiating in every direction. And here's the thing, the transformation is already underway. Like I said, we see over 550,000 guests annually to our site. That is 45% more than what the Fargo Dome saw last year. I don't say that to be competitive. I want to frame the context. Think about that. We are already one of the most visited destinations in this region. Guests are already coming here to visit Fargo. Nothing going on here. This site has everything going on. And the site handles it beautifully. First Avenue delivers that traffic without breaking a sweat. It already works. It's already happening. This project does not need to create energy. It just needs to show up. So here's what I want to leave you with. This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity and decision for the community. The opportunity in front of you is not to replicate what other cities have done or to find the most familiar path forward. The opportunity is to look to the future and choose a partner with the vision, the passion, and the proven track record to deliver something genuinely extraordinary for Fargo. We know how to do this, not because we studied it or planned it, because it is what we have built and it is what we do every single day. Every event, every experience, and every guest that comes through our doors is proof of that. Create experiences and destroy expectations. That is our mantra, and it is our promise to you, to this committee, to this community, and every person who will walk through those doors. We are ready, this plan is ready, and Fargo is ready. And personally, I'm ready to stop talking, and I want to listen to you. So what questions can we answer for you?
All right, thank you, guys. Questions? Who wants to start off?
I will.
Shirley.
Well, first of all, hear the passion. I want to thank you for the meetings we have had that you actually listened to what we do at Visit Fargo Moorhead. But there's a big question for me. First of all, we sell very far in advance, as you know. A lot of what we do is 2+ years. Sometimes it can be shorter in that window. How do you envision selling 6 months, 3 months? Because that's not what we do typically. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but that's not where we're focusing. So those windows to me are where the red can turn black.
Yep.
In filling the facilities. So how do you plan on handling that?
Yeah, thank you, Shirley. That's a great question. So I think what we talked about is a booking window. Sometimes that's around 18 months. We look at that. I think a better way to talk about it, when we talked about, is really around the time frame and around the types of events. The CVB knows how to work with associations and conventions, national traveling conferences, but the Bruhala team knows how to book local events, those shorter window ones, weddings, expos, meetings that happen here locally. We would handle all of those events that happen inside that window, booking inside that part, and then we rely on the CVB's expertise and relationships to book in that further out window. So it's a dual aspect and a dual approach to that, and we succeed in that partnership where we work together. There's always a discussion going back and forth where the preference is long-term booking to maintain those big ones, and then once we're inside that window, using that where we know that in 6 months there's not going to be a national convention coming in, and that unleashes our team to open it up, book it for every opportunity that we have, or even produce an event that we could do in that site to generate revenue and activity.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, because again, we don't, just so everybody knows, we don't book the short-term stuff. That's not what we do, so thanks.
So our team is already doing that, and we feel very confident about the arrangement and the team partnership that we have and being able to execute together on that. Because Shirley's right, that's a huge opportunity to turn it from red to black and fill that calendar.
I have a question for Shirley. Do you envision with the role like this? I mean, the other proposals had an individual that was set to do sales. Does the CVB have an employee that would be able to manage the booking that they're envisioning, or is this something you anticipate having to hire for?
Well, we have had a director of meeting sales, as you know. We are now in the process of hiring to replace her, as well as expanding that team. For us, it's really dependent upon where it is, how big it is, because we've seen various proposals on how big, we weren't sure what everybody's going to come to the table with. The support that each of those venues may bring, if they're, again, if there's the Dome, anybody else has their own sales team, how we lean into that and how we don't. And then what budget I have to lean into the team we need to hire anyway. We've been short-staffed in this space. And again, also looking at how we, in the future, and with our budgets and organization, I've had this conversation with all four, so this is nothing new, how we also continue our event services that we do for certain size of events and what that includes, as well as potentially what that might change, the look of that might change if we have an actual convention center versus the hotels or other places that we work with. So we are already hiring. And my hope is, as any organization, that we continue to grow off the back of success. We also, like every other group has talked about, this is also potential a space for any competition, not just sport, but any sort of competition. We also have a very big sport team that would also be selling this facility that, we already have 4 people doing that.
So you envision if there isn't an individual on your team currently that's able to take this on, you have financial capacity to add on an additional teammate to manage that?
There is a job description out on the World Wide Web right now. We're looking for somebody, so yes.
Thank you.
Susan has a question, but first I want to say, do any of the 4 proposals plans scare you that you didn't think you could handle it?
Me?
You, yeah.
No.
Okay, that's what I want to know. Susan?
Oh, hi, I just have, I have a couple questions on the financial. I think it's slide 54, if you could bring that up. So I wanted to just explain a little bit about the Baker-Tilly assumption that was created initially. So third from the bottom, or third from the top, tax from new convention hotel. What that was, that came from the HVS study. So we wanted everyone that we sent, the information out to kind of have a benchmark so that we were looking at apples to apples. So that was based on what Baker-Tilly thought the convention center would provide as additional beds throughout the city. So it wasn't just the new convention. So, your assumptions, I'm not sure where they came from, but maybe they vary from what was provided. The next line, the subsidy for losses, that's generous. I guess my point is that several of the other presenters didn't indicate that there would be a loss. And I have this question of a different proposer as well. So as your management structure is you run the convention center, Bruhala, and the hotel. So what is your incentive to generate any money above $0 for the convention center, because that would go to the city rather than you? So if you're faced with a decision on, do I reduce rent or do I reduce hotel rooms or whatever to generate this, how are you going to make those decisions?
So because we look at this as a true public-private partnership, that it's not in our interest to just book the convention center to a minimum or to a $0, because the busier the convention center is, the busier our hotel next to it, because we own it and we control it as the manager. The rest of our development and what we see happening in the community directly related to us, and because we have a vested interest in this community, that we know that if that convention center is busy, that benefits every restaurant and every hotel, and it benefits the bottom line for the city that we live in. It's because it's a true partnership.
Right, but that's kind of my point. It's like some of the times the rent is the flexible number, And that's what drops to the bottom line that becomes the net profit for the city. But so if you have to give away the rent to attract the hotel beds or the food, I mean, I just think those are going to be things that we all struggle with an independent provider.
And I think that's one of the reasons that when we heard from the Overland Park Group, where they really recommended the benefits of a universal management structure, where when you have a group that's asking, the CVB to discount the room rental, that needs to be made up somewhere else. It needs to come from the catering, it needs to come from the hotel. And when we're coordinating all of that and partnering on all of that, we can make sure that that balance is happening on the average and that everyone is being made whole throughout that whole process. All the while, we maintain and specifically don't lose those bookings so that that benefit keeps coming in for that whole universal success.
Well, and I just want to jump in there that keep in mind too that we're taking the responsibility for the losses. I don't think it's quite so simple to manage a building to a break even. I mean, we're going to be managing it to make money. We're going to be managing it to make money for ourselves and managing it to make money for the city. And to think that our motivation is only to break even, that's just not right. If we manage all three of them, there will be times that the convention center may have to be discounted in order to get an event there. There's going to be other times that the hotel is going to have to be discounted, or blocks of rooms are going to have to be provided free or discounted, and we're able to do that by managing the whole thing. The other proposals that might have one group managing the convention center and another group, totally different group, managing the hotel, that's the worst case scenario, because now you're going to lose events because one or the other is not going to compromise. We will compromise and manage all three of them together. Bruhala is going to benefit just by the convention center being busy right next to it. We don't need to do any more for Bruhala. It's doing what it needs to do. So there's no reason to send work from the convention center over to Bruhala. It's going to benefit. No matter where the convention center goes, Bruhala is going to benefit because it is becoming a regional facility. So it really doesn't matter from that standpoint. But we didn't say we're going to take the responsibility for the losses. We didn't make that decision lightly, and we made it with the idea that we're going to manage it better. And we're going to make money at doing it. We're not going to just manage it to a break even. One last point. A national manager, you do the math really quick. They take a flat fee every month, and then they take a percentage of everything that's not given away. They take a percentage of food. They take a percentage of advertising. Nobody gives away the food at conventions to get somebody in town, so they make sure they get their money. It doesn't take very long to figure out there's $400,000 or $500,000 going out the door for a national manager. We don't have that issue. That makes it a little bit easier for us to make money or break even and in fact make money. So I'm not sure I answered the question exactly right, but I think we have less conflict in our potential management structure than I see from other management structures.
Okay, I just have two more questions on that. So the capital set aside through a TIF district. Local politics is such. TIF districts are a bit speculative. We've heard from our municipal partners that, they're not going to go beyond 5 years. So that is, pretty risky for us to count on, capital set aside based on a TIF district. And then I think the other question I have is the interest rate. So Baker Tilly used 6%. That's what everybody used. Your pro formas use 5%, so that's about a $5 million bonus on there. So if we look at apples to apples, there's a gap there.
So I'll answer your first question. You're right, there's been some recent news about developer TIFs. Those are related to a few specific projects and a few bad relationships. This is not a developer TIF. We're commingling two words with two very different meanings. We are very confident, and we've had discussions with members of the county commission, members of the school board, about going out there and presenting this as what they look for in a TIF. What they want to see is true community impact. What they don't want to see is developers lining their pockets off of the taxpayers. None of that is happening here. We are very confident in going forward and making that proposal to those taxing entities and partners in the community and demonstrating the benefit that this will have for the entire community, those taxing entities included. And on the second point, I'll let Kevin answer this. Follow me, but really the reason that we're showing the 5% interest rate, that comes from our bond consultant Municap. That 6% was put out 18 months ago. That is simply not the interest rate anymore, and a 5% is the reasonable reflection. I think it's fair to update every other plan to show that, but what we're trying to present to you is the most accurate, up-to-date advice that we've received from national consultants that do this.
Anything else, Susan?
No, I just checked with our bond advisor, and he said 6 might be a little high, but for a appropriation bond like this, a taxable appropriation bond, it'd be more like at least 5.5. So there's some wiggle room.
I think you're right. There's going to be, this has come up in some of the other proposals too, that there's variables that are going to come up to what this bonding is, and we're not going to know what it is until that's issued and what that budget is. And then when that budget is set, that's where the development agreement gets negotiated and those details get put out. And we'll go through that process just like any other development would happen. And that's when those details will reveal themselves.
I think that's something though that this group's going to need to consider. Like every one of these proposals was short on cash. And if we're, dickering about the interest rate in order to build something, that's a concern that we all need to think about. Like, is this the right time? Is this the right proposal?
I would say that's one thing I agree 100% with you. If the project is driven by a $40 million budget, then the most that you can expect is a very mediocre average building. That's not going to be competitive in the market. I mean, it's 85, 90,000 square feet total with everything. It's barely bigger than the hotel ballroom or meeting rooms and things that we have in town. If you did that to a $40 million budget, you'd have really nice coverage, you'd have really nice safety factors, whatever else it is, but you'd also have you'll never have an opportunity to build a building of the right size as later. You can't build 80,000 now and add 40,000 square feet later without doubling the price, tripling the price. I mean, look at what the Fargo Dome is going through. I can't imagine. It's a difficult situation with $47 million in the bank. It's a huge dollar amount, but it's not enough. So we're proposing a little bit different thinking, a little bit different thought process that build the most you can now. Find a way to maximize the dollars. We're not adding any tax dollars. We're just putting a different financing package in front of everybody that, yes, this group needs to consider very much.
Yeah, and one of the things we're going to do is get an update on these figures. That's one of the things we're going to wait for, so we'll get a better idea of what the actual interest rate might reflect as we go forward. No one's going to make any decisions until we get that. So, other questions?
I had one more, and I meant to ask this of the Dome earlier, so I apologize. But so a lot of the other two talked about sponsorships, naming rights, et cetera. Have you considered that? Again, that's another form of revenue.
So we didn't include it in the pro forma. We didn't make the assumption that would happen, not because we don't think it's the right choice, but we think that if you're going to do the naming rights on the building, it needs to be strategic, it needs to match the brand, it needs to be something that makes sense. And until that presents itself, we do not want to count on it in the pro forma, but that could be an opportunity. And behind that, there's other opportunities as far as like sponsorships, like the pouring rights inside the facility. There's lots of other different ways to maximize that revenue, but naming rights is on the table. We chose not to include it in the pro forma because we didn't want to make the assumption that would be something that would make sense on day one.
So I don't want to, in case this gets lost in there, and I want to make sure I understand this, your building program, you're actually offering 70,000 square feet in that major hall, right? It's a 20,000 square foot ballroom and then 50,000 square foot hall, including that stage space, or am I reading that wrong?
I'll answer that one real quick. Collectively, the main hall is 50,500 square feet. The hallway to the east can be added to that hall, and that's another 2,000 square feet. And there's another 15 to 20,000 square feet in the pre-function room. So what we were saying there is if there was an exhibit or a conference that came in and needed that much exhibit space, our pre-function space is designed to handle that as well.
Oh, okay.
So that's how we get it up to 75,000 square feet total. And that doesn't count outdoor. I mean,
So the ballroom exhibit space is
50,500.
50,500, okay, thank you.
I think one of the points that makes that possible and why we're confident in showing that, maybe, Rob, can you flick to a building plan, is when you look at the simplicity of the building design, the pre-function space follows the whole activity of the event and expo space, and behind the scene, the back of house follows the whole function of that. So if we wanted to open up the exhibit and ballroom room out into the pre-function space, that's all one seamless space all the way across from end to end, and it's serviced entirely from behind the facility as well.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner?
Yeah, just a comment. We heard the importance this morning at the chamber event of being curious. I really want to see that sculpture.
I do too.
I really want to see it.
It's been some really fun conversations with the planes, talking about not jumping to a conclusion about how we would go through the commissioning process and the call for artists. And I think what's really great too is that they're the experts in grant writing and doing that process. That's where that's all going to get taken care of. And so I could sit and dream about that for hours after this. I'm with you.
Joe?
Thank you. On the TIF, could you just share kind of the thinking right now in terms of, you showed the district, but when they're established, there's lifespans, and you're setting a floor, and what percentage of that TIF, regardless of the lifespan, would go towards maintenance things down the road, would go back to the taxing districts. Just if you could fill us in on that.
Yeah, so really inside the TIF district, again, that's not a developer TIF. That's the city kind of recapturing and holding the increment increase in whatever that boundary gets set up. In our plan, that's first there to take those first two variables in the bonding structure, the losses and the CapEx reserve, take that out and cover that in another function. But what it also presents is an opportunity where other facilities that the cities manage, they're getting 30 years down the line and they don't have the adequate remodeling and reinvestment budget. They have a minimal CapEx budget. This would produce a long-term funding mechanism that doesn't require going back to ask for more tax money. It doesn't go back to the city, and it could be deployed at whatever way the city sees fit. That's not under our control as developers. That would be set by the city's purpose and can be deployed however they want. And Kevin, do you want to add to that?
Well, it would be, we're assuming it would be a 25-year TIF district, which is the maximum that it could run. If it ran less than that it just generates a little less money. I think it's something that the city needs to get behind. We certainly would get behind it to present the pros and cons of it to the county and to the school district and all the players involved. It doesn't impact a private developer, and it doesn't say a development coming down the road 3 years, 5 years down the road is guaranteed to get any incentives. It does not. It just is a vehicle for capturing the incremental taxes over that period of time for the city to use for whatever is allowable.
So with that, it wouldn't be dedicated just to ongoing needs for a convention center. It could be used for
You could use it to catalyze a performing arts center across the street, a parking ramp on the facility. You could use it to expand it. You could use it to improve the biking lanes or the walkability, the neighborhood beautification. This is why developers in a triple P look for this type of a mechanism, because it maintains and ensures the beautification and engagement of the neighborhood that the city is putting an investment into. This is a smart play. This is what big metro areas do and what those big developer master planners do. This is a huge opportunity for Fargo. It's not just to repair and maintain the convention center.
Okay, Thanks, guys. A great presentation from both teams today. Thank you very much. You're dismissed for now. We're kind of at the end of our time, so that we're going to have some discussion. We're going to meet again, committee, on Friday, and we're going to hear from Susan. We're going to hear from Eric Johnson, who I know has been waiting to talk, but we're out of time for him. But he's going to help us, give us the city's perspective on a lot of things we've heard for the last two sessions we've had. And so we'll do that on Friday at 1 o'clock. And we will actually decide on this Friday, if we need or want to meet next Friday, depending on how that conversation goes. So if you can all be here at 1 o'clock this Friday, we're going to do a lot of follow-up and find out our next steps. Thank you. We're adjourned.